Hello, hello, hello. All right, welcome to this session of our live talk with Phil, who will be joining us shortly. It's good to be able to connect with all of you guys who are such big fans, and I just have to keep an eye out to see when Phil jumps on. Obviously, there's too much to talk to Phil about in one session, so we're going to, let's see. He should be joining. Yes, so there's too much to talk about with Phil in one session. So, hello, Phil.
Is that you?
Can you hear me, Phil?
I hear you. Look at the people. Wow. Look at
Yes.
the people.
Phil, right off the bat, I have to say, you're going to have to come on this so much. Well, first of all, you never have to come on, so I don't want to force you. But
I don't.
but you are the only person other than Ray who's the world expert on the show, right? There is nobody else.
I think my daughter's pretty good.
Yes, but she was not. By the way, some of the viewers will absolutely know more than you about.
Of course they do.
Yes,
of course. Yes,
about.
I stopped watching when we finished. You know,
Oh,
once in a while, I'll see a rerun with my daughter who watches.
Yes, I thought you stopped watching in season 4, but I guess.
I stopped watching after the table read. I don't want to see it anymore.
So I think, Phil, one of the things that are, well, what I was going to say is there's too much to talk to you about in one session. So I know you don't have a lot of time right now, but
somebody just asked, can you guys do a podcast for the show? What do you think this is, people?
Well, actually, you know, I am doing a podcast. It just hasn't come out yet. And you know that my friend Lily Rosenthal, who you've met, she, we actually recorded a few episodes, and then she was going to become a world traveler. And so, and then there's some other big events that happen. So yes, we will be doing a podcast because the truth is this. The advantage is we're going to be able to talk to all these people who are commenting. The podcast gives you a little bit better chance to talk for a long, boring, strung out hours at a time, you know? And so this is, but yes, this effectively is pretty much like a podcast. Phil, I'm going to have to get you a stand for your phone.
Because
you're holding it.
How long can I hold this? Oh my God, it's so heavy.
We're about to find out. Somebody just said, Somebody Feed Phil is the best show on television.
They're right.
You seem biased, but so Phil, what I wanted to talk about, well, first of all, I'm hoping everybody is watching Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. Season 3 opened, right, last week, and you can watch them all in one sitting. Don't hurt yourself. Yeah. Well, you want to stretch it out. You want to stretch it out a little bit, but it's so enjoyable, and we'll get into some of those specific episodes because John, your director, agrees that it's the best show on television. He is biased because he directs the show. And somebody said Phil is the foodie version of Mr. Rogers.
He's much nicer than me, I think.
Well, you come across as very nice, and I have to say, one of your mottos on the show was "Be nice." Well, Phil, I think I want to touch on a few episodes, and I want to talk about food, but the reason this is different than a podcast is we get interrupted by comments, and we want to answer. You are the kindest person. I wish Lily were there, Phil. I wish for Lily, to rebut it. Yeah. To rebut it. Yeah. You are so open-minded, even. Interesting. Yeah.
It's important to be open-minded. Look, yeah. I have a special guest. Look who's here. Hi. What?
Oh, Lily.
Like a thing to hold it up?
Yes, Lily. Can you bring your father into the 20th century and give him something? Great.
Look, I have this whole stack for you.
Oh, this is awesome. This is exciting, Phil. So that's Lily Rosenthal. Lily is Phil's daughter.
So here's what you're going to do. You're going to do this.
Yes.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to do this.
Yes.
Oh, do you have to keep your phone plugged in?
No, I can understand.
Okay.
Yes, this is the...
And then we're going to do that. And then we're going to hold it right there.
This is called watching someone learn, which is very good. Oh, Philip.
Very good.
Yes. Now you can focus. Lily.
Look, I got somebody else here. Come here. Come here.
She needs her computer.
Are you doing it on my computer?
No,
No.
we're just using it as a stand.
Hi,
Look who
David.
it is.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Last week's greatest hits. That's
They want to see. They say there's an echo, and they want to see Murray. That's what I just saw. Is the echo bad, people?
I don't hear any echo.
Maybe if I plug in like a headphones thing, would I?
Oh, let's see, Philip. Let's see.
Nobody leave.
Let's experiment with this.
You know, everybody has limited attention.
Yeah, they're saying they can't hear you that well, Phil.
All right,
And
people. Hang on now.
okay, this is exciting.
this segment we call Grandpa learns.
This is called working out. Yeah, someone said no echo. No echo from John.
And
Okay.
then you. All right. So I can't hear Tom, so I'm gonna leave now.
All
This
right.
is
Bye.
this is like the
All right,
earliest.
is this better?
That is much better, Philip.
Oh, good. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
much better. Much.
But now that I have it plugged in,
Yes.
I can't lean it now. So I have to hold it. I'm sorry, everybody.
Maybe Lily can work it out in the future.
Yes.
Lily can watch from her phone, perhaps.
I don't mind holding. It's not that heavy. You people are not so heavy.
All right, Phil. By the way, what's funny is because of where the comments are, we all look like this. We're all like, head up. Oh, your lighting person.
I don't know what they did. They just killed the lighting.
Your
wait a
family
minute.
killed the lighting. Let me text Lily.
You don't want the light?
No, it was bright on me, and then something happened, and now it's dark on me. Now it's much better.
Oh, see, I turned lights out.
Okay, because this light is.
Tell everyone I wish them peace on this day.
Peace on this day, says my
Phil-
wife, and peace from me too. Peace and love.
And condolences.
And
On every day.
condolences to the family and everyone affected by that horrible tragedy in Minneapolis. But hopefully, I've just posted this beautiful quote from George's daughter. My daddy changed the world. And I say, let's help her.
Nice.
And let's help her daddy. So there are links in my Instagram and links on my Twitter and Facebook where you can help if you want to. But mostly, we just want to have love in our hearts for our fellow human beings. And if we all had that, and if we all just followed the golden rule of treating others the way we would like to be treated, we wouldn't have any problems.
I agree, Phil. And that comes across in Everose Raymond. It comes across in your show, especially.
Thank you.
And I think by traveling, it's hard to not like people because you meet so many people, and we'll talk about some of your specific episodes.
Sure.
Of Somebody Feed Phil. But I just wanted to say, first of all, you sound so much better. So
Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you. Oh, you're the best person on earth. Signed, Phil. It looks like your handwriting, Phil. Hello from France. Hello from Paris.
I love Paris. Come on. So
Phil-
we gotta get this vaccine so that we can take the vaccine and we feel safe again to go out into the world. Because
Yes.
here's what I want to tell everybody. The world is waiting for us, and this thing is going to end. And I want you to watch the show, not with melancholy, oh, look how it used to be, but with the knowledge that the pandemic's going to end. We're going to have a vaccine. We're going to feel safe again. And the reason I'm confident in knowing this is because it's happened every other time in life, right? In the history
Yes.
of mankind, we have solved these things, and we're going to solve this thing. It may not be as fast as we want it, but it's going to happen. So watch other travel shows or read books, but plan. We have time right now to plan. So when you plan, that gives you something to look forward to, which is all life is, right? The only thing that makes life worth living is having something to look forward to. And then when this is over, you're going to go.
You're going to go travel. Yes. I agree. Nothing has ever stopped travel in the long run, ever in the history of mankind. So hopefully, and Phil, so many people, hello from Germany. We have good
love
food
it.
too. Come to Texas. Hello from Denmark.
I'm coming.
Hello from Ireland. Well, wait until after we're done with this, though, at least, before
Yeah.
you leave, Phil.
Okay.
Come to Canada. Now, you did go to Montreal. Someone just loved the Chicago show. Hello from the Philippines. Can you start planning season 4? I think you have, Phil, right?
Not only did I plan it, I shot it already. We got in just under the wire. We finished the second week of January. But those 5 shows are, they hold for another season, and that'll probably be the fall or the winter.
Yeah, great. And Phil, just a hello from Melbourne, I just saw.
Love it.
Yeah, now, would you be shooting the show there someday, maybe?
Of course. I want to go
Okay.
everywhere. Right now, I've done, if you count the PBS show Phil's having, those are 6 episodes. And if you add them to this, I've been to 28 places. So when I started, I thought if I'm trying to motivate you to travel, I should start with Earth's greatest hits. So I haven't even scratched the surface of the Earth yet.
Yes.
For the greatest hits, right? So I want to get everywhere.
It does sound funny. When you watch the show, it seems like you've been everywhere and traveled so much. And when you say, I've been to 26 places, it sounds so small in the scheme of things.
It's I've filmed 28, only 22 have been on. So, or 23. So there's a lot to do, people. We got a lot of places to go. Everyone who's always suggesting where I should go, it's not like I don't want to go. I want to get there. I do.
Yes. You haven't. There's not a big list where you've crossed it off and said, I'm not going there. You want to go everywhere. Phil, you have to live to be 112 by my calculations to see every place in the world. Yeah. To see what
and at the rate they reorder things and negotiate, that could be a long time.
By the way, Phil, I wanted to just touch on that because I'm putting up a lot of photos and you're seeing the creative process. And I think a lot of people are surprised to see how much work you put in. Like, who is this unknown guy? Because a lot of people just see it's normal. You see the characters. You wouldn't expect, the reason you're behind the scenes, that's why they're behind the scenes.
Yes, who wants to look at me?
But they're astounded. Well, clearly, unfortunately, a lot of people love you, Phil. I'm reading all the love coming from Cyprus, from, I can't just keep reading out names.
I love them.
Yes. But so you're making the show, and I think a lot of people are like, do a spinoff, do this. And I think the thing for you, Phil, and for everybody in the business, I don't care what level of success, Brad Pitt, George Clooney,
compare me to them, please.
Phil Rosenthal. Phil, we're talking about production, not looks. It's always a fight to get anything on the air. Always, never is it not. Easy. It's never, ever easy. So you think, Phil created Everett Raymond. Just walk into the office of CBS, say, here's the other shows I'd like to be doing. Yes. When do I start?
Yes, and to give people an idea of how tough it is to get a show on the air, we did Everybody Loves Raymond. Seemed to go very well. Lasted 9 years. Won some things. Have you seen another sitcom from me on television?
Yes. Well,
that's how hard it is.
Yeah. And I think another good example is Ray. So even if we say, okay, well, you're the behind the scenes guy, even though we know how important that is to make a show run correctly, to be a success, we know there's a lot of moving parts. And the showrunner, which is the unofficial title of the head of the show, which is what you are, which is what you were from Raymond, is astoundingly important. Let's just do the flip side. Ray came off Everett Raymond, had a huge, what they call a Q rating, which is basically how much do people recognize and like you. Like Oprah Winfrey, her Q rating is through the roof, right? People love her. Ray coming off the show, people liked Ray. We knew it worked on TV. It took him 5 years for him to sell another show. 5 years. And even Seinfeld, who does Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, he talks about it. When he was trying to sell that, nobody wanted it. Nobody. Zero. Not one buyer except for Crackle, which is like an internet thing that Sony had. So I'm just saying to the people watching, when they're saying, just do a spinoff, Phil, not that you don't want to. It's just really, really hard. And even with your food show, which look at all these people that love you that are writing, you knew that you had all of a sudden you were likable in front of the camera. The show worked. It's not that expensive. Even after you've completed them, the pickup process can be a year. So when people are like,
it's almost 2 years between episodes airing, right? Because they want to wait and see how it does. And that can be months after it launches. Then negotiations start, right? And then all this Mishigas, we call it. Mishigas, trouble. Nothing is ever easy, and it doesn't matter how many awards you've won or how popular the show is. It has nothing to do with it. It's really about how much something costs. You know, I learned this doing a movie. You know how they determine the ad budget for a movie, the marketing budget for a movie? It's not about how good this movie is. Let's put some money behind it because people are really going to like it. It's how much they spent on the budget of the movie originally to make the movie. And so they want to protect that monetary investment. And that's how much other money they're going to throw at it. It's also a formula that covers their butts. So it's not a creative decision. It's just a mathematical decision. The movie costs this or the show costs this. That means we spend this on the marketing, and that's it.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's why sometimes when you watch a movie way after it's been released and you go, this is a terrible movie, but I heard so much about it and I saw so much about it. It's because of that. And vice versa. There's a lot of movies that you go, this is an unbelievable movie, and I never heard about it. So
yes, that's why. And it took me till, how old am I, to figure that out. I didn't know. I made a documentary about bringing Raymond to Russia. I know you know. It's called Exporting Raymond, because the Russians called me and they said, would you like to turn your sitcom into Everybody Loves Kostya here in Moscow? So I thought, that sounds funny. I will do that if you let me film the entire process. And that was that documentary. And the documentary came out funny because of how I suffered. And And the people at the distributor said, this one old man, he said, I really like this movie. It's really very good. But I must tell you, when it comes to selling the movie, good doesn't really enter into it. And that was my first lesson in the whole business of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not complaining because I got to do it. It's a long life, and it was on HBO for a long time. It was on Netflix for a long time. It's still available. Everybody Loves Raymond is still available. Somebody Feed Phil will always be available. So that's all we can hope for in this world, right? Is that our work is available.
Yes. And I think it's not about what the subject we're talking about is not about sour grapes. It's about, from the outside, when you're watching, it just seems like, well, why don't they do this or why don't they do this? And I'm just saying, it's always a struggle. It's always hard to get on. And it's just, you're wanting, so when we get, by the way, somebody just wrote hello from, I think, Calcutta. You helped them through a difficult time after a cyclone.
Well, that's lovely.
Somebody filled it. Yeah. And I think,
wow.
Yes. So
I can't wait to go to India, by the way.
Yes. And that's why when people are writing these suggestions, again, you want to go to every place. You have to wait for Netflix has to approve it. And then the budget.
India is a massive, massive country. And you could do a whole series just on different places in India. I know that. So I can't wait to go. Have you been?
Well, I have not been. And they did an adaptation of Everett Raymond. I think they tried it in India. And I think, Phil Summons suggested perhaps the International Space Station for you.
Oh, I'm a little afraid of that.
And honestly, I don't think the food would be quite up to what you're looking for. And you also...
yes, I prefer food that's not mushed up in a tube.
A couple of call-outs from Germany, which is good, where they said, we do have good food as well. Yeah.
Have they worked on the toilet situation in the space station, or do you still have to poop in your suit?
I think the toilet... Yeah. So when you're flying there... there's still no, do you have the keys to the restroom around the corner? That doesn't exist. But inside the space station, from everything I've read, you do have a semi-normal experience. But
all right, then maybe I'll go.
Yeah, but I think you're missing the big picture, Phil, that you're circling the Earth and seeing the beauty of it in a distance.
Yeah. No, where am I pooping is very important.
Okay, so now, Phil, I want to there's a couple of real simple... There's questions that come up all the time because I don't want to go over how the show started. I don't want to do any of that in this conversation.
Because this is the Everybody Loves Raymond 360 Instagram.
Correct.
So we're not here to talk about Somebody Feed Phil. We're here to talk about Everybody Loves Raymond.
I do. There's a tie though, because in the Italy episode, by the way, people want you to go to Amsterdam. I'm
I
hearing
won.
that a lot. Yes.
I went in my private life with my family, and we loved it. Have you been there?
I have been there many times. Yes.
Isn't it gorgeous? Come on, people, you got to go there.
You got to go to Holland. Yes.
So I can't wait to do the show there too.
Yeah. So I think, Phil, this is related to Somebody Feed Phil, but when you had the idea to do the show in Italy,
Yeah.
one of the factors was Ray. You wanted Ray to be excited about going to Italy.
Yeah, because he said he didn't want to. I asked him where he was going on his hiatus, and he said he was going to the Jersey Shore. And I said, that's nice. You ever been to Europe? And he said, no. I said, why not? And he goes, I'm not really interested in other cultures. He actually said that. That was That was in 1997, I want to say, between season 1 and season 2. I asked him where he was going on his hiatus. So a light bulb went off. Oh, we got to do that episode where we send him over to Italy with that attitude of the guy who not really interested in other cultures. And we see him get woke. We see him get turned on by the magic of travel, and especially Italy, and the food in Italy, the people in Italy, scenery. And, we should, after the episode, he should be more like me, excited.
Yeah. Yes.
So I write that episode. It took how many years? 3, 4? To get, number one, the money to do it, and to get Ray on a plane. Because he was so afraid of just being on the plane, and then everything foreign and nothing he didn't understand. But we did it, and here's the thing. What happened to Ray in the arc of the character, he got woke from being not interested to very interested, right? I saw happen to Ray the person. He also got woke. Ray Romano got woke and fell in love with the whole thing. And seeing your friend get turned on, I thought I want to do this for everybody. And so that's the year 2000 we made that show. So 20 years I've had the dream of doing exactly this.
Yes. And it's that's why I bring up that episode, because you've always been doing this in some way, but now you're doing it on camera and sharing it with the world.
That's everything. The sharing is everything.
But before, you would be sharing it with 9 people or 6 people. And a lot of the food that you introduced to the show, to, behind the scenes, was a lot of food that a lot of people didn't have. So you made sure, and on a TV show, we have something called craft services, which is the kitchen. It's basically the kitchen on stage.
It's the best part of any show.
Yes.
It's like your favorite subject in school. Mine was lunch.
Well, Phil, can you say hello to Jesse from Istanbul?
No.
Okay.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, Istanbul. I can't wait to come there, too. What a magical place. I can't wait. Have you been there?
I have not been to Istanbul.
Let's go. Gotta go.
Yes, I will go. Which reminds me, you and I was doing business in Korea, and you shot the show in Korea, and you allowed me to eat a few meals with you, which was a tremendous amount of fun. And
even though you're in the show, it's still a good show. No, by everybody, way, if you like Tom Caltabiano, you got to see the Seoul in Korea episode. Wow.
Yes.
We had so much fun with your friend Key, and the food was so amazing. We met the greatest people.
Yes.
I'm still thinking about, if we could go back and have that Korean barbecue meal that we had. I think we went crazy, right? That was the highlight, don't you think? The
Korean barbecue. It's the best barbecue I've ever had. Yes. Someone's asking if that woman from North Korea, which is a very touching scene for people who haven't seen it yet, where Phil talks to a woman who has escaped North Korea, and it's an amazing story, and it's very emotional, Phil. I think it's the highlight in many ways, the non-food highlight of the show.
Agreed.
So someone wants to know if she has a book out.
Oh, I don't know. We can find out. If we find out, we'll tell you.
And I know that there's another book about someone who escaped from North Korea, but I can't remember the name. Maybe somebody watching will text it to me about the name of the woman. But it's an amazing story also about her thing. But that was very heartfelt, just because that was new to me, Phil, watching that, because I hadn't seen it.
I know she's on Instagram, so I guess if you find her on Instagram, you'll find if she has a book.
Yes. Lebanese food, Phil, people want to know.
Phenomenal. I love all Middle Eastern food,
Yes.
Syrian food, Israeli food, the whole mishmash.
Yes. I was checking to see if I got a text from about the title. But Phil, getting back to some episodes, just because.
Yes.
So I put up a lot of photos. You're in there talking to the actors, and people will go, "What is he talking to them about?" Now, I'm going to put up. I'm going to put up some footage of you talking. I can't remember the episode, but there's some footage of you talking to Peter and talking, so people get an idea. Because even if you don't know how a show works, you don't realize that you're making a play, and every single day you're tweaking that play in minor ways. And then you're leading up to this point where you're going to shoot it in front of a live audience, and you only have one chance to get that laugh from the audience.
The first time. Yeah.
The first time has to be as close to perfect as you can get. Otherwise, your previous 2 months of working on breaking the story, doing the script, all this stuff is almost for naught. And so all of what you're seeing in those photos is you watching, which you have done throughout the whole week, but giving final notes into to the actors. And the actors are phenomenal. So people, I think people misinterpret sometimes, like, are you reprimanding them and telling them to, but it's this finite little notes that is the difference between good and great in these scenes. And the one thing you don't want is to be sitting in the edit bay and go, why didn't I tell them to, why didn't we do another? It's the worst thing. So what you're seeing is that process, which is a very good, like, iterative process where it's getting better every time. It's getting,
well, you want to get as specific as possible, right?
Yes.
You know that sometimes the difference between a joke working and a joke not working is a tiny pause between one word and another, or an emphasis on the right syllable even, or could you be a little closer or look over there when you say it? All those things, right?
Yes.
And the line itself, of course, the writing of it. And the tone, the attitude, the idea that's in the person's head, what their face is doing, everything matters. Everything matters. And what you're talking about, that first take where the audience in the studio, because we love their laughs because they affect the spirit of the show, not just there on the stage for the actors, but you at home watching. Because what you're watching at home is a filmed live performance that you don't want to mess with it at all. This is a very beautiful thing, the 4-camera sitcom in front of a studio audience. I always say it's this perfect in between theater and film, right? Yeah. Because we write a play, we rehearse it like a play, we perform it like a play, but then we have the flexibility and the permanence of film. Yeah. 4 cameras from 4 different angles, multiple takes. So we're trying different things. We even change the lines on take 2 or take 3 if we have to. And we do it until we get it right. And it's very important. But you know the saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression? That's exactly what you're talking about with that first take. That's the first time the audience. Now, could we go back and get it? The next take? Yeah. But the laugh will never be the same.
No. And I think, Phil, you come from a theater background.
Yes.
So you're the adjustments you would make in that. So that to me is the more important thing in the show, is your theater background and getting the performance, et cetera. Because as much as I'm a camera guy and into cameras and into film, it's that performance that you're able to tweak. You're going to capture it on film. It's not like you're a cinematic, we're trying to do this crazy single camera stuff. So that process, you really are directing a play,
Yes.
You really are directing a play. And I think it shows here, what you were doing on that floor in all those photos is not necessarily always done in sitcoms, because people don't have the eye for what you had in performance. So
there's a reason where I might have been more adept at that than other sitcom writers, and it's because I studied not just writing, I studied performing and directing and producing at Hofstra University, going for my theater degree. So I tell everybody, if you're an actor, take a directing class. If you're a writer, take an acting class. You want to know all the branches of the business you want to be in, right?
Yes.
And you never know where your break is going to come from. I thought I was going to be a performer. I thought that's what I was funny in high school and college. And I thought that's, I'd be funny on stage, not a stand-up, but like a character actor. That's what I always did. That's how I was able to not get beat up in school. And maybe a girl would talk to me if I did that. And so and you know what happens after college? If you're a big star in college, you can move into New York City and nobody cares. And so,
as an actor, yeah,
of course. And so you look for other ways to make a living. And I had lots of odd jobs that had nothing to do with show business. And then some friends of mine and I wrote a show for ourselves to be in. And that was my transition to writing. That and another friend of mine was a writer, Alan Kirschenbaum. He wanted to write a screenplay with me. I didn't know anything about writing, but I did it because it was fun to do. And you never know where the break's going to come. So that was it.
And I think, Phil, that part of the process that you said, that is not necessarily on all sitcom. I've been to tapings where I'm watching the performance and I'm sitting there, and when you're done with a scene, people say moving on. And there were so many times on other shows, and I would watch and they're moving on. I'm like, really? There's not any notes?
Don't have it.
Yeah, they just don't. They're not seeing it. And I think, everything adds up. When you're doing a great project, it's everything adds up. The wardrobe, this is an undervalued thing, but when I look at the photos, the wardrobe, as small as you might think it is, the color coordination of the wardrobe is amazing, and it just gives it that extra level of professional, thing, which you should, for people who haven't watched Exporting Raymond, and you want to learn about show business, you should watch that. By the way, somebody just wrote, season 3 of Somebody Feed Phil is the most humanitarian show on television.
Well, that's very kind.
But they may blame you for weight gain.
I listen, I'm not immune either.
By the way, that brings me to the Chicago episode, Phil. The Chicago episode of Somebody Feed Phil, that was the heaviest food. It was so delicious. I don't know how anybody can to lose weight and live in Chicago seems.
The Food Association of Chicago has a motto.
Yes?
Chicago, we're trying to kill you.
Yes, it was. I have to say that for people who haven't seen it, you should. Yeah, go Chicago. A lot of love from Brazil, by the way, Phil. A lot of people from Brazil.
Love Brazil, the Brazilian people, the Brazilian food.
Yes. So now, Phil, I'm just going to bring it back to Everybody's Raymond. 2 more real quick things.
Do whatever you want, and then
yes.
If you want to talk to the people who are calling in or writing in.
Yeah,
fine,
well, we can't.
Also.
Yeah, well, that's why we're kind of please talk about the cast from ELR. Please talk about Patty Heaton, et cetera. But we will. I just want to get to the can opener episode. I just posted a picture of that. And that started with a fight. You came in and told your side of the story that you didn't have dinner.
Came into the writer's room. Yeah.
Came into the writer's room. And in the writer's room at 10 a.m., you kind of share stuff from your day.
Everybody.
You don't sit. Yeah, so correct.
If you worked on the show, your job was to go home, get in a fight with your wife, come back in and tell me about it.
Yes. And so, so it's not like at 10:01 you would sit there at the typewriter and just start banging away. You would talk, and more often than not, these relatable stories that you heard from the other writers became episodes. So you were telling a story about you didn't have any dinner. You decided to open a can of tuna. Your wife bought a newfangled, super great can opener. You opened it, and then it spilled everywhere. It didn't work. And you were telling us the story and how you handled it. And we thought, Phil might be not lying, but I wonder what it would be like to see it through the filter of his wife's eyes, right? Because we thought there's no way that Phil is relaying this accurately. He smells much better than the truth. And so that, what you're seeing in that photo, there's a photo of Ray jumping up because he's just had there's a big fight between Frank and Marie, and Ray is jumping to agree with them. But would you say that somewhat accurately portrays?
Always. To me, that's marriage. You think you're saying something in a certain tone, right? And it's coming off completely different. And both sides are usually guilty. And the truth is always somewhere in the middle. I think,
yes.
Unless it's so egregious.
Yes. So Phil, someone just asked if you ever had an acting part on ELR. I don't.
No, you know why? because
I don't know why.
I cared about that show.
Wait a minute. I was in it twice.
I'll go
what
do
does that
Curb
say?
Your Enthusiasm. I don't care about that.
Yes.
I can ruin that show, but I wasn't going to
s-
ruin Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes. Somebody said you and Larry David doing a food show would be good. Now, you were on
It
Curb
wouldn't
a
be
couple
good.
times.
It wouldn't be good. You know why?
Because he hates
wouldn't-
everything?
Well, he wouldn't eat anything. He wouldn't do it. It would be the same beat over and over. I'm not. Whoa, why would I eat that? Whoa, get that
Yes.
away from me.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
are we
yeah.
going? I'm not going.
Yeah.
It's a very short show. That show would be comedian doesn't get in the car to have coffee.
Somebody feed Phil and Larry will stay in the car.
But I love Larry. There's no greater comic character than Larry David as a human being. Do you know the first thing he ever said to me? We met at a party years ago. And of course I was a fan already from Seinfeld. And I meet him and I say, nice to meet you. And instead of hello, he says, you think it's all right to throw gum in the fireplace? Every word out of that man's mouth is an episode.
Yes.
Right?
Phil, I don't know if you remember, but there was a big boxing match in HBO. We watched this boxing match from a Hollywood Highland event, and Larry David was sitting at our table.
Yeah.
And he got up, and we're upstairs, and there's giant plants all around and big screen monitors, and we're just sitting in a booth with like 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
And Larry just goes, is that plant bothering anybody else? And we're looking around like, what is he talking? Is that plant's not in the way? And he gets up and starts moving this enormous that you could barely get your arms around the pot, and just starts moving. And he's not doing a bit. It was bothering him, you know? It was annoying him. So Phil, the cast. People are asking just about the cast. And because you will be on again and we're limited in time here, I know, we can go on about each cast member who was fantastic.
First, I have to say hi to Divya from India. She's saying, could you please say hi? So I'm saying.
I saw that. And why aren't you eating, Phil? He doesn't eat all the time.
I just had lunch.
Okay.
Otherwise, believe me.
Yes.
I would be eating.
People ask about the cast all the time, and of course, the standout characters are every character. You hope in a show that you have one character that can carry the ball.
You hope that, if you had a basketball team, there'd be one guy who could score. But here we could throw the ball to anyone and they could score, not only score, but score huge.
Yes.
Right?
And yes. And it was astounding to watch, because as much as you would think, here you're writing this script, and then you see it, you, Phil, would read it out loud in the writer's room with Ray and another writer, we'd read it out loud, and you'd be like, okay, this is a well-polished script, this is funny. And then when the cast would read it, it elevated it to such a level. And I was told once by an executive, they said, listen, a television show with brilliant writing and a mediocre cast will not make it. But brilliant cast with mediocre writing has a very good chance of making it, because no matter how good your writing is, coming out of the somebody who can't act, it ruins it. And so I think, we could take time and talk about every single cast member here, but we shouldn't, because we'll have plenty of other opportunities to talk about specific episodes. But
sure,
I think it is what it is. Everybody there. Everybody won an Emmy. The only person that didn't want an Emmy on the show was Peter, because unfortunately he was up against Brad every year. And so he did win one for X-Files. The first year of Raymond, Peter won an Emmy for drama on X-Files. But, it was either Brad or Peter had to win, each year, or not had to, but it's one of, so that's the only reason that Peter didn't win. And I think there's also another, this gets asked a lot. Richard, yeah. Some people, now Richard stole your bacon in the Chicago episode. That's what I think they're referring to.
Why do you need to remind me of this terrible thing that happened to me?
I think, Phil, just going back to the common question when you don't write is, some other people some of the people go, oh, do you write for this character or that character or this guy? And you write the entire show yourself. I mean, you just write every character. So you get into the head of you, Phil Rosenthal, had to think like a 72-year-old mother of 2 boys. And
Wasn't hard.
yeah. You already wear the skirts, so it makes sense. Yes. Oh, by the way, there's some questions, Phil, about the first dance in the wedding. And since you were at your wedding, did you pick? What was the first? Was it a Louis Prima song that you danced to?
It was called Buonasera, and it starts slow and elegant. And my wife and I choreographed the first dance. This was in 1990. And if you go on my Instagram, you can see a snippet of it. And we made a little video about it, a minute. And that seemed to be a hit at the wedding.
Yes.
That dance. And when we did Robert and Amy's wedding in the show, I thought, well, we should have a funny dance for them too. And we used different music. We used an Elvis song called A Little Less Conversation because it was on Story, right? And Robert and Monica Brad and Monica, they hit it out of the park. They were unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite moments ever on the show, was them dancing.
Absolutely.
But it's actually based on Monica and my real wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. And that Monica also in real life was a dancer. So her dancing is amazing. And Brad, I don't know why Brad is such a good dancer, but he's amazing.
I know trees usually don't dance.
By the way, Phil, somebody just asked, why isn't Somebody Feed Phil longer in time?
How long do you want it?
6 hours, people are hoping for?
Netflix actually prefers shorter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If it was a little longer, I think I know what you mean. Like the PBS show was maybe closer to an hour. Maybe it was 5-10 minutes longer each episode. But they actually prefer shorter. I don't know. For some reason, Netflix wants you to binge. I don't know why. I actually would prefer you not to binge. I mean, watch it any way you want. I'm just happy you watch. But, you know, you spend months and months on each episode. Every single shot, every line, everything is carefully considered. And if you binge watch something, it's like cramming for a test. You barely know it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. It's funny because sometimes when we would be in the writer's room sweating a line, right? You'd be going, we need a better line here. Let's get this. And every once in a while, Steve Scrovan, who's one of the writers who wrote on Seinfeld and wrote on Rem, he would go, nobody's watching. The kids, the phone's ringing, the kids yelling. They're not paying attention. You're sweating this one word. And I think that's kind of what you're, can you focus long enough to watch 6 straight hours of Somebody Feed Phil?
You know what, there's this thing called Quibi now, where you heard about Quibi, right?
Yes.
So there's a couple of reasons they've discovered why it didn't catch on right away.
Oh.
One is that we're in quarantine and people, it was kind of designed for the phone. And so people are just watching on their TVs, right? They don't they're not commuting. So they're not looking at the phone so much. But the other thing is that when people watch a show, they also like to be on their phone at the same time. And if you're watching the show on your phone, you can't be on your phone tweeting or doing anything else. Or texting, right?
That's unbelievable.
Nobody thought of that.
I think that's what's funny, Phil, is just because we live, Raymond was done on film. So we lived through the digital transition. And I was working with one of my editors, and she's editing, and she has her computer open, and she's looking at Facebook at the same time.
Right.
And I was like, you can't, and we were friends, but I'm like, you can't really focus on editing. And no, I always have it. She had never lived without Facebook. Really? Facebook created in her college and whatever. So there's this transitional period that we're living through, which is very exciting because you would be horrified to go, hey, Phil, I really like your show, but that's a good scene I'm watching. Hold on one second. So, by the way,
I heard 60% of the audience watches Netflix on the phone.
Oh,
They watch it on the phone anyway.
well, and it's funny.
And Netflix says, you've got to shoot it in 4K. It's very important. I'm like, but if 60% of people watch it on the phone, we could save a lot of money. You know how? Shoot it on the phone.
You may end up doing that, Phil, if Netflix has its way. And it's funny because you think, oh, I'm going to work hard all my life so I can get the biggest TV I can afford, a giant screen, and then you wind up watching it on a 3-inch screen, 4x3. By the way, there is, Phil, I'm going to hold this up. This is another, I don't know if it's going to be a reverse image. This is a girl who escaped from North Korea. It's a different girl than it was in your show, but it's a very good
also,
book.
it's backwards on my, when I see
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Well, imagine, I'm not going to flip my image, but
Yes.
the girl with 7 names. Yeah. Is another highly recommended book.
Divya says she watches on the phone. Don't watch it on the phone. It has some of the most beautiful photography ever. It has nothing to do with me. In fact, I'm the worst looking thing in the show. But the rest of the show, you want to see big.
Yes.
I promise it's better if you watch it big. I promise.
Yes.
Somebody keeps saying, talk about Patty Heaton, please.
It's an odd request because we can talk about Patty, but I don't know,
I'll say this about her.
Yes.
Best wife ever on television. And I mean that as a big compliment because the wife is a very hard part. It's not easy because when you think about what the wife has to be, right? You want somebody who's very supportive, but you don't want just a 1950s housewife. Here's your lunch, honey. Hi, honey. Glad you're home. You don't want just that. That's first of all, it's very dated. It's very sexist. It's not. So you want someone who is somewhat supportive, but you also want them to be able to fight back and forth, give it as well as take it. You also want a certain vulnerability. You want a certain attractiveness. Also, obviously, you want, someone who can cry, someone who can laugh, someone who can be, a giant range, way more range than even your lead needs to be.
Yeah.
Raymond. You want this person, this very well-rounded, loving, lovable person with her own foibles. And I'm lucky, I always say, because I found that in real life as well.
That's nice.
I didn't marry that girl. But I think I know where she is.
I guess Monica's out of the room.
Monica, we love. I joke because I love Monica. She's like a saint. And don't tell her, but she could do better.
Phil, off of what you're saying about Patty, I think just to put a number to it,
yes.
I think you saw something like 200 actresses.
200. That's true. I saw 100 women for Marie, for Doris Roberts' part, and I saw 200 for Patty's part. I almost quit the show before it began over the casting of that role because I heard that the president of the network wanted somebody else, and I was not going to do it with this person who was not right for the part. Wasn't about her being a good actress or not. I just wasn't going to do it. And I convinced the head of the network that we should keep looking. And sure enough, he was very good about that. And we kept looking. And the week after seeing 200 women, Patty Heaton came in the office. To read. Yeah.
Thank
she was
goodness.
Amazing.
Phil, yes, she was amazing. 200. We can talk endlessly about each of the actors, which we will in the future. Someone wants to know who came up with the nickname Chi Chi for Frank.
I think it was one of the writers in the room. I think we just thought that was funny. Do you remember? Exactly.
No, I don't remember. It is an Italian nickname. But
it sounds funny, right? It sounds like what a monkey would say.
Well, what's funny is there's certain things I remember. Every once in a while, you would go, "Who has a funny name or a name that you want in the episode?" And I had a name. I had a name. A friend named Frank Pecorella, and it's just a funny name. And he said, "Yeah, okay, we can't call him Frank because he's already Frank. So we'll call him Chuck Pecorella or something like that." So there's some things I remember very vividly. And other things you're like, how did we? That's why our collective minds. And Phil, if you ever want to know about anything that aired on Everyone's Raymond, put it to this audience.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what one of my favorite names we ever used on the show was? Harriet Lichtman.
Lichtman.
That just sounds like a funny name. And especially funny name for Frank to have had a crush on this woman.
Yes.
Harriet Lichtman.
Harriet Lichtman. Now, wasn't there somebody Lichtman in your real life?
There might have been. But it's like I call my car Harriet Lichtman now.
Yes.
That's my car's name.
Yes. By the way, people are asking, this is a normal thing, are the cast members still friends? Everybody is still friends from the show. Everybody.
And the writers. These, we always say this, but doing a show and getting a chance to run like we ran, it was actually the equivalent of spending all of high school and all of college plus another year together.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's like we're Army buddies. We have stories and shorthand the way you do with your friends, whoever you are, whoever you grew up with, you're like childhood friends. That's kind of how we feel. And it was a very happy experience. So we shared this wonderful thing and we got to go to, the Emmys together and win even a bunch.
Yes.
And so that's the winning of it is actually in my memory the most fun because I shared it with these people that I loved. And when I look at an Emmy Award in my house, it's a souvenir of that night, not the thing itself.
Yeah.
It was the winning and the sharing that was so much fun.
Yeah. And the truth, I just have to keep an eye on the time, Phil, because last time Monica was mid-sentence.
Yeah. And what happened?
Cut off. It was she had started the sentence and it went almost an hour. And then we got cut off. Yeah.
That's her, yes.
But just saying that, I always say the you're sitting next to. So I sat, at a table with you for 9 straight years. So I always say it is like you show up for first grade, you sit next to that student, and you sit next to that student every day until you graduate high school. Like every single day. Like you learn their mannerisms. And I think for writers who are watching, one of the things that you're also looking for is how does that person function among others in a room? You can't have somebody who's pounding their fist and saying no way. And I think you had a very democratic way, which worked on that show. But there's many shows where you had this autocratic writer, and a lot of the writers that I talked to, very funny stand-up comedians who I knew on different shows. And I'd say, oh, what's it like there? And I'd say, oh, I don't have a joke this year. You don't have a joke. And so there's a collaborative process that you want to have. And I think that friendship comes out of, because there were some tough times where you had to go through budget problems. You had to go through all these negotiations. You had to, they didn't want to give you the time. So like, there's a lot of stuff, Yes.
Yeah.
Chi-Chi is Frankie in Italian. That we know. We just don't remember who said it in our writer's room. Somebody. I'll find out. Yeah. I'll ask some of the other writers. So Phil, anything else about Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix? For those of you that haven't seen it, you should watch it. And by the way, someone just wrote a funny thing. I watch Somebody Feed Phil on my phone. It helps my diet. It curbs my appetite because everything's much smaller.
I would think it's the opposite. But
your end is a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, because
but
if you're using your phone to do the Instagram Live and a call comes in, what the hell?
By the way, Phil, there's a lot of questions about a reunion show. And just to cut to the chase, you said, hey, you would do a reminiscing show.
Of course.
With the cast.
Yeah, I love a reunion. I don't like a reenactment or a new episode. Those hardly ever work.
Yeah.
And plus, by the way, we don't have the parents, right?
Yeah.
We don't have them.
And one of the kids, yeah.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
But I would love a show where the cast and even the writers sit around and reminisce, and we show clips and bloopers and stories of how their people's favorite episodes came to be. We could even do it live and take questions from the audience. So I'm talking about that right now, actually. It's 15 years since the show went off the air as of a week or so ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May 16th.
Which makes you very old.
100. Phil, someone is asking, please come to Peru.
Okay.
That's what they're asking, yeah. And then also for the the idea of a reunion, right?
Yeah.
If you would do so, here, no one's ever seen a reunion show that really works, right? You never saw the second iteration, really. You don't really want to see Friends 20 years later.
Well, I think you want to see them together,
hanging out and talking. Yes.
You want to see, how they look now. I get it, and you want to know who they are in stories of that time. But I'm just saying, for me, and there might be a show someone could correct me or have a different opinion. There could be a show where the actors got back together again and did a new episode 20 years later, and it was just as good as the original. Show me that episode.
Yeah. By the way, sorry, a lot of questions in the past scrolling by about Ray, so Ray and I have known each other forever, and you now have known him forever. You still vacation with him. I, in a normal time without a shutdown, would see him at least 3 or 4 times a week. Ray is the nicest guy, exactly what you see on camera, pretty much, maybe even a little more neurotic, but a really sweet, guy. And I got to be honest, even I get fooled. Like when I heard that Kelsey Grammer got something happened that was untoward with maybe cocaine or something I was like, he's Frasier. He's that's impossible. He's Frasier. How could that be? And it's like, that's acting. It's just like people are like, are Ray and Patty having an affair?
So what you're saying is Ray is not that good an actor to pull that off.
His range is 0.
Life. Yes,
his range is 0. Yeah.
Well,
and that's
what made him so great and still makes him great is that he will never do anything that does not feel genuine to him, that is not believable.
Yes.
Right? And that's like the method. He didn't even know at the time.
Yes.
He wouldn't, even when he was just starting, he wouldn't do anything that he didn't really do in real life. His behavior.
Yes, absolutely. And it comes across in all the projects, because look at Ray, look at all these he's done, The Irishman. And if you haven't seen Paddleton, it's good. By the way, people are asking, where do you see your show? Netflix is the show. Netflix is Somebody Feed Phil.
Yes.
To watch on, Netflix.
If you want to see Raymond reruns, they're on TV Land and they're on local stations, and it's going to be on this new Peacock network, streaming on the Peacock network, along with The Office and a lot of other great sitcoms of the past.
When does that come out? In Peacock?
I think
is it
some
out now?
people have it if they subscribe to a certain cable company, but it will be streamable and gettable for everyone.
Yeah. People are saying Amazon Prime for Everyone's Raymond. By the way, I'm going to clear this up. Robert touching his chin, that was Ray's brother in real life. Ray's brother in real life would touch things to his chin.
Most everything came from real life.
Yes. Ray did really like Canada Dry ginger ale. He doesn't drink coffee. He doesn't drink alcohol, not because he had a drinking problem. He just doesn't like to drink it. So he drank so much ginger ale. That was a really good thing. By the way,
more sugar in a ginger ale than a Coca-Cola.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Phil, before we hang up, someone wants to know bloopers from Somebody Feed Phil?
The bloopers are the show. The whole show is my bloopers. No, we don't. Everything, it's not, because it's not scripted. So anything funny that happens that wasn't supposed to happen, it's kind of in the show because that's good stuff.
Yeah, you're going to put your...
Like if I taste something really awful, there's nothing funnier to my brother than me dying. That's
yes. That's obvious. And Phil, one thing, somebody just wrote, everybody loves Ramon. And then can you get your show on cruise ships, please? And maybe, Phil, you can...
Let me ask you, who's going on a cruise ship now?
Love from the Philippines. By the way, we have a huge audience in Australia, Phil. We must go to Australia.
Let's go.
At some point,
I'm ready.
Someone said,
I'm telling you, we just need for this plague to end, and then we'll go.
Yes. Okay. It's a deal. All right, Phil, let's say goodbye properly before we get cut off. We'll do this again. I'll ask you again. You'll say no 4 more times, and then you'll say, okay, stop asking, and then we'll do this one more time.
Tom.
Yes.
Where am I going? I'm here for you. Whatever you want.
Yes. We will have you back on, Phil, because it's always fun to reminisce, and you learn new stuff. Even for me, talking about this thing. And thank you for answering all these questions. Somebody should fill on Netflix, right? And hopefully I'll be able to talk to Monica and Lily again. And then all the Raymond writers who, a lot of them aren't on Instagram, and Ray does not do any social media.